Hello, citizens of YouTube. This is the Geeky Nerd here, and today we're going to be talking about something a little bit obscure that I haven't seen a lot of reviews about. So here I am, the Dark Hour AR buffer tube extension, buffer tube receiver, buffer tube. But before I begin, I'd like to say a big thank you out to everyone who has commented, and subscribed on the previous videos. I always appreciate it and always enjoy talking to you guys. But if you're new here to the channel, welcome. And if you enjoy this video, enjoy this type of content, please consider liking, commenting, and/or subscribing. With the PR out the way, let's get into it. So, Dark Hour is a company I haven't seen a lot about, haven't seen a lot of reviews about, but they're definitely out there. Definitely niche and definitely kind of a one up step premium upgrade in most of their products, right? And this video is part of a larger series of the ultimate suppressed ultimate AR build, where I've chosen every single part individually, handpicked, and done a review on each one and why you guys may want to consider it. And considering some of these parts are obscure, including the Dark Hour, I thought it would be good just to make one of these. So without further ado, let's get into it. So just unboxing here. You guys know I'm not a big spec guy, so don't expect that here. You see, it just comes, basic packaging, and there she is. So, looking at the tube, right? It is a A5 buffer tube, and one thing about this is, and why did I go with the A5, right, for this build, and just overall, you might want to consider it, is that the A5 buffer system was developed by Voltor VTOLR. Technologies, so weapon systems, what have you, and what their goal was to increase reliability of the AR platform and reduce recoil. And so in that process, they developed the A5. Now, the A5 is essentially, it is longer than a carbine, shorter than a rifle buffer tube, with a rifle length spring and a larger buffer. So larger than a carbine, but smaller than a rifle. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow the motion, the recoil, the Newton's laws to apply over a longer distance. So as the gun is recoiling, it will allow the felt recoil to be a lot less over and spread it out over a distance. With the rifle length spring being in here and not in that full rifle length tube, you're also getting more return speed, right? So the spring is returning at a higher velocity, also reducing the recoil. And finally, is that the spring potentially, at least from everything have read and seen, is that instead of it going through a full duty cycle of fully expanded to fully compressed, right, in a carbine where it pretty much bottoms out, it is going to have maybe only go to a rate about here, right? So it's not going to get that full compression that it would with a carbine or potentially with a rifle. And so what that's going to lead to is, again, less cycles on that spring. Finally, as well, with the A5, and one thing I've read, noticed, and experienced myself, and going with this slower, right, it's going to live on this gun forever. But in case you want to swap uppers and do anything like that, is that the A5 can potentially work with a wider array of guns, since there is more space, is more room, is more kind of going on. It can't, instead of it recoiling all the way back to here, right, on some crazy power, whatever, highly overgassed gun, it'll go out here. But then on a perfectly one, it might go right about here, but then still cycle. So should work for more variety of cases. But with all that out the way, let's look at the Dark Hour here. So let's get some of the very fine details. So this has a anti-tilt carrier lip. Reason why I went with that, and this is the only A5 I've seen that has this. All the other ones of Altors, what have you, don't have it. Now, it is kind of said, well, is it even a point? Well, whenever your carrier is riding a gun, right, it should just be flush with his face. Sometimes, depending on your load, depending on your gun, you can experience carrier tilt, which is basically where the carrier dips down ever so slightly before going the tube. And if it's fully flushed and this lip wasn't here, could catch and have to overcome that, lead to some issues. With this protruding out ever so slightly, the very tail of your carrier rides, so it always makes sure it's going to go in there. So that's one feature that I always like to see. It's not a crazy need to have, but it's nice to have, right? You can also see there, it is beveled on those edges, which is just, again, testament to the quality of this part here. The threading is very nice, and you can see it has like that Tenefer Teflon almost like finish, right? Almost is like jeweled as well, even though I hate to say that. But you can see each facet is very well machined. So instead of it being perfectly circular, this is a mil spec tube, but it has those just little facets around the entire edge of it, which is just very nice to feel in the hand. I really can't understate how this feels. Looking at the rear, there is no hole there. You can't see there. You have the Dark Hour logo just lasered. Um, and then you have your drain holes, three of them there, and 13 positions. I know, crazy, right? This is probably the only thing I would ding this tube on is how many positions there are, right? Yes, for adjustability, it is fantastic. But you are having less pin engagement on less surface material by having all of these different edges in here. Is that really going to be an issue? Not necessarily, since you're not really whacking the gun as much, and it should mortar just fine if you get a stuck round casing, what have you. But I don't think that that would be a true issue. The only reason I dislike it is it is picky on its stocks. On the B5 stock that I have dry fit on this, it is somewhat loose. On the Hogue I fit, it's perfectly fine. On every other one, it's perfectly fine. So B5 appears to have a slight dislike of this many positions. And so I would highly recommend, if you're getting a stock for this, if that's something that's going to bother you, you can either put a piece of felt on the inside to just lessen that and fill up that void, or get a stock that has like a leaf spring in it, like one of the Hogues does. But overall, still a very nice machine, very nice made tool. One thing I'm not sure a lot of people realize, though, is that Dark Hour is actually a sister company to V7. So V7 Weapon Systems is basically a high-end AR parts manufacturer that makes very ultralight builds, and just really neat, really designed stuff. Right? Like it is art in the finest machinist sense. And Dark Hour is a sister company to that. So Dark Hour is more made for the masses from V7, but as you can see, with every bit of that quality, and you are getting a good part, especially with this finish. Right? I can't understate how well this finish feels. It's best finish I've felt on a buffer tube ever. But Dark Hour, as some people like to think, oh, it's like their blems or seconds. It is its own separate entity, but you are getting, the benefit of having V7 be adjacent to it and get some of these innovations, which is why I chose this buffer tube and why I think you guys maybe should look at it. So again, I haven't seen a lot about these, but I think it is worth a look for the finish, for the features, and just for going for a standard A5 system alone, and for the price of one of these for around, I think. Oh boy, I want to say it was around 55, which isn't that much more than like a standard, A5 buffer tube. And so, yeah, with that, guys, I will wrap it up here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you guys like the Dark Hour, have heard of them, any of their items, or if you think V7 is still better, right? I'd love to hear it down there. But hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. And I hope everyone's having a wonderful, awesome, fantastic day. I'll catch you guys next time. See you guys.